Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this meeting of the Council of the Town of Oakville. Please rise and join Council in the singing of O Canada. Please be seated. I will now read our opening prayer, followed by our moment of silent reflection, and then we'll begin the meeting. God, grant us understanding and patience, that justice, truth, and honesty may be evident in our decisions. Make us mindful of the needs of the people throughout the town of Oakville. Help us govern with the wider community in mind, and so create in us a desire for progress and responsible action. We ask this in your name. Amen. Thank you, everyone. Madam Clerk, are there regrets for this meeting?
We have regrets from Councillors Khan and Councillor Robinson.
Apparently we have dueling microphones too. Council, are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? Thank you. You have before you the minutes of the previous council meetings of November 7th and November 14th and the closed session of council on November 14th. Councillor Duddock? Councillor Duddock moves them. Councillor Johnston seconds them. All in favor? Opposed, if any? They are adopted and confirmed. We have no public presentations this evening, but Madam Clerk, I understand we have some delegations registered. Would you call the first one?
Mr. Mayor, we have two delegations listed. The first delegation would be Tina Robotham, but I do not see her in the audience. So the second delegation would be Lisa Seiler regarding the 2012 rates and fees, which was item 1 of the 2012 Budget Committee meeting of November 15th.
Your mic has gone from not working
to working too well.
To working incredibly well. Ms. Seiler, welcome to the meeting. Council looks forward to your information.
Thank you very much. Is this, can you hear me? Okay. That's good. Your Worship, councillors. My name is Lisa Seiler. Thank you for allowing me to speak as a member of the public at tonight's council meeting. I'm not wearing my hen hat. I'm not exactly wearing my green trans hat. There wasn't enough time to get a coordinated response to this. I'm addressing the Budget Committee item on your agenda, particularly the omnibus rates and fees schedule. As reported in the Oakville Beaver last week, thank you, David, the cost of living is going up in Oakville. I note by scrolling through the lengthy list of fees that many are increasing, including fees for recreation classes, facility rentals, park usage, building permits, pool permits, tree cutting, and transit. Some of those fees increase every year. I'm most concerned about the lack of process around the transit fare increase. I've attended budget committee meetings every year for quite a number of years. The public process for the 2012 budget starts in mid-January with the distribution of the budget books and staff presentations and doesn't conclude until the latter part of February. I was intending to get involved in January when that process started, but you've kick-started me here. A link to the budget page isn't even on the home page of the town's website yet. So why are these rates and fare increases being pushed through in advance of the public annual process? In particular, transit fare increases have traditionally been discussed through the budget process, which typically spans about a month from start to finish. This current proposal it's been in front of the public for less than a week. I'm concerned, among other things, about setting a precedent here. I'd like to address a couple of specific transit items on the rate sheet, in addition to the process itself. I note that only the cash fare is increasing from $3 to $3.25. All ticket and pass prices are remaining the same. Some of those prices were increased last July. As an aside, half an hour ago, I was waiting for a bus and a random person said, "Did you hear that they're increasing the transit fare to $3.25? And I went, "Yep, I'm on my way to council right now to talk about it." And she said, "That's really horrible. How are people going to pay for that?" Just an aside. So anyway, the comment at the bottom of the chart where the transit fares are says, the base Presto fare is $3. Each concession type has its own loyalty discount programs, which results in reduced fares based on the frequency of use in a calendar month. So my question is this base Presto fare going up along with a cash fare increase? I happened to board a bus in Burlington recently and found that Burlington's base Presto fare is $2.50, even though the cash fare is currently $3. This gives some incentive to people who have purchased a Presto card and perhaps recognizes a discount for not having to print tickets or count cash. Has there been any thought to doing that in Oakville? Another line item on that list of rates is that the Go with Gus pass for connection to Go Transit has been eliminated. It's the first I've heard of that, so what's the justification for that? You know that I did not support Council's decision to eliminate citizen advisory committees in last year's budget. If the Transit Advisory Committee were still around, there would have been some additional opportunity for citizen input into the proposed transit fare changes. In summary, I'm concerned about the lack of process in consulting with the public in general and on transit fares in particular. I ask that you defer a decision on the transit fare increase to the normal budget process in January, February to allow for public process and provide a response on the base Presto fare and the Go with Gus pass. Thank you for allowing me to address council this evening.
Thank you for your information. Questions? Thank you very much for your information. And thank you, Madam Clerk. That, Council, brings you to your standing committee of the whole reports. And you have before you the 2012 Budget Committee of November 15th, the Community Services Committee of November 15th, the Administrative Services Committee of November 15th, and the confidential report of the closed session of Administrative Services of November 15th. Councillor DeMoff.
I would like to hold the Budget Committee report to vote on that separately, please.
All right, thank you.
As I would like to propose an amendment to Section 1.
Thank you. Does anybody want to move a motion for anything else? Councillor Johnston? And I need a seconder. Councillor Adams. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. Councillor DeMoff.
I believe in order to amend the minutes from the Budget Committee that they would have to be voted on and defeated first. Is that correct? So if we could, can we separate number 1, or are they all done at the same time?
All reports are severable on request, no vote required. So your proper procedure is to separate your item, pass the rest before or after. I always prefer before, but, and then the separated item is put to a vote, and if defeated, it can be replaced.
I guess my only concern is number 6. Says amendments to existing bylaws containing fees to be presented directly to council as required. So if that doesn't affect number 1, then I would separate item number 1.
Why don't you re-separate both of them?
Okay, we'll do that.
And that way, if the item changes, we can change item 6 to reflect.
So I would separate item number 1, and then I'll separate item numbers 1 and 6.
All right. So I'll put the vote on the balance. I need a motion and a seconder. Councillor Elgar, Councillor, if only we had a semicircle and I could see you all better. Councillor Elgar and Councillor Knoll, all in favor? Opposed, if any? The balance is carried. I'll now put the vote for item 1. We'll hold 6 because its fate depends on 1. Although, Councillor Knoll.
Can I just ask a question with respect to this item first of staff?
Sure.
Thanks. I just wanted to actually ask the questions that Lisa Seiler had raised to see if there's a response on both the Presto Fair difference and the Gus Pass issue. If we could just have a response to that, I'd appreciate it.
Through you, Mr. Chair, the schedule in the Budget Committee minutes indicates that the Presto Fair would be held at $3 for individual transactions. The idea of the loyalty program, as you use your Presto card throughout the month, the idea is that as you get towards the end of the month and you get to those rides, we're trying to emulate the same value that a monthly pass would have. So as you get more and more rides, the cost per ride will decline in relation to what you would pay if you were using a monthly pass, as we currently offer. So that's the idea. So the Presto fare does not increase to $3.25. It stays at $3 for that initial few rides. The Gus Pass, I believe, and I don't have absolute information on this, but I believe it's just essentially become redundant based on all the other programs that we currently offer, including the Presto fare, so that there was no requirement and no interest, as the Gus Pass basically is losing favor as all these other media are available for people to purchase.
Supplementary, in terms of the Presto Fair, so if somebody were to purchase a Presto card, or if somebody had a Presto card and took the bus twice a month, are they paying $3 or $3.25?
$3, as far as I understand, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Knoll. Councillor Grant.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. Pardon me. In relation to the Gus Pass, it was maybe when a resident had contacted me with a concern about it being phased out that I had first heard that the Gus Pass was moving away, and then having to travel deep down the rabbit hole of our website, was able to finally find some justification for that. I'm just wondering what steps were taken to inform the public and Gus users about the removal of the Gus Pass.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I believe as we get closer to the end of the year and we would be implementing the new rates and fees for January 1st, subject to approval of tonight's minutes, we would be entering into an advertising notification process to all of our transit users with regard to the changes that will take effect as of January the 1st. So I guess it's simply just we haven't got around to putting out that notice or advertisement so far, but it is planned to happen during December to be effective January the 1st.
Just a supplementary, one of the concerns I have had from another resident who's contacted me is the fact that with the Presto Pass, there don't seem to be enough places for people to tap them right now at the GO station. Is that Transit's responsibility, or would that be GO's responsibility to install more units there?
For those units, through you, Mr. Mayor, for those units that are located at the GO station, we would have to work with the GO Transit authorities to install more machines. We'd be responsible for those that are outside of the GO station.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Grant. Councillor Giddings.
Thank you. Quick question. The $3 cash fare, that's been in place without any increase for 2009, 10, and 11 as well?
Through you, Mr. Chair, the cash fare was adjusted on effective January 1st, 2009 to become $3. So for the period since January 1st, 2009, the cash fare has not been adjusted.
Thank you, Councillor Giddings. Councillor Lapworth, you're the acting mayor, and I'd like to speak to this item, so I'd like to pass the chair to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mayor Burton, you have the chair.
Thank you. Council, our decision about raising the cash fare next January to $3.25 from $3 doesn't have any visible effect on other transit fares that I can see, such as passes for seniors and youth and veterans. In my opinion, Council needs to act now because it would cost us more than $43,000, perhaps well more than that, in lost fares in the new year if we wait for the budget. Acting now gives transit users plenty of notice. Now, we're not alone in looking at adjustments to our cash fare for transit rides. Other GTA municipalities have moved and are moving to raise the cash fare to $3.25 and even to $3.50. Our cash fare, as Councillor Giddings has pointed out, has been frozen since January 1st, 2009, and, or in other words, for the last 3 years. So depending on whether you think of the raise as happening after 3 years or happening to cover a period of 4 years, because it would be good to the beginning of 2013, I mean, to the end of 2012, you can think of the increase as 2.67% a year or even 2% a year. Now, paying for transit has always involved a mix of fares and support from the property tax. The balance in Oakville has traditionally run at about 40% from the fare box. Recently, because we have frozen some fares, like this one, the fare box portion has fallen to about 30%. It might have been worse, but we've had a 17% increase in ridership. The cash fare adjustment that we're discussing will raise the contribution from the fare box by an estimated 0.5%. Now, transit in Oakville is an unbelievably great bargain for riders. It costs about $10 to provide each ride. In my view, the sustainability of our transit system requires that everyone, including riders, keep up with contributing to the costs of service. Over the last week, my office and I have heard a strong message from residents that transit fares need to keep up with the costs of transit. So I'm going to support item 1, and I hope that Council will too. Thank you. Councillor Demoff?
I'd like to speak to this as well, because this isn't about whether the fare increase should go through or not. It has nothing to do with whether our fares should be $3 or $3.25. It has to do with the fact that we're implementing part of our budget without allowing the public the opportunity to provide input. As Ms. Seiler said, we no longer have a transit advisory committee. This came out of the blue, and I don't think it's right of us as councillors to assume that we can make these decisions without allowing the public to comment on it. So it very well may be that a fare increase is absolutely justifiable and should be put in place, but I think it should be done as part of the budget process and not as part of a fee increase without the public being allowed to comment on it. And I really hope that Council will allow the public the opportunity to speak in favor or against it and allow Mr. Cole to provide us with information on why this increase is important for Oakville Transit.
Councillor Knoll.
Thank you, Worship. I'm mostly going to comment by saying thank you to Councillor Demoff for raising this, and I'm going to echo her comments. What I want to add to that is the fact that for a number of years running, I've been asking the transit director for information in terms of the impact of transit fare increases to ridership, and I would like to see that along with the public consultation. Again, just like Councillor Demoff has said, I don't know whether 25 cents is the right thing to do or not, but I don't feel that as a councillor I even have enough information to really make that decision, because I don't believe that a decision like this should be made strictly on budgetary reasons. There's other reasons to make all the decisions we make at the town, and I think this is one of those. And I would certainly find the decision much easier to make with a full debate and a full discussion with the transit director here and with additional information.
Thank you, Councillor Knoll and Councillor Demoff. Councillor Grant?
Can I ask one little thing, though, before I relinquish the mic and I forgot? I just wanted to ask, and perhaps I'm not aware of this in the materials. You mentioned a veterans fair. Do we have a veterans fair?
It's my understanding that we give free transit to veterans.
Really? I wasn't even aware of that. That's great. Thank you.
Councillor, Commissioner?
Just to clarify through the chair, we have a veterans parking permit program where we provide free parking to veterans in downtown Oakville. We do not have a similar program for transit.
My bad. Thank you for catching that. It might very well be. Councillor Grant, you still have the floor, even though we've been walking all over it.
It's all right. That's the floor is a four. I'd actually also like to echo thanks to Councillor Demoff for bringing this to everybody's attention. And I agree that this isn't just a budgetary issue. I think it's an issue where we have, in a sense, the social responsibility to people who are on the poverty line to have an opportunity to come forward and discuss this. And it's been less than a week. There are programs that I know are on the go within transit that could possibly help to meet this cost downfall. I really do believe, though, that we need to have the Director of Transit here and full public consultation before we can go ahead and make a decision like this. And certainly I will be supporting the motion that Councillor Demoff has.
Okay, just to help you, you should be voting against it to support Councillor Demoff.
Yes, that's kind of what I meant.
All right.
Sorry, I stepped all over. I lost my vote.
Others? Councillor Adams, were you next? Councillor Adams.
Just a couple of things. First of all, this is a budget item. It does mean money for, it is a revenue stream for the town. It is important. There's a number of transit agencies that either have or will be going to 325. York, as I understand, is going to 350 in the new year. So there's a range of transit systems that are already mimicking what we're talking about doing. And they're all doing it on the basis of a revenue issue. And if you had been listening to the budget committee meeting, the transit director did respond to the question of the elasticity of demand on this issue, and the figure was about 0.3. That is to say, a 1% increase creates a 0.3% drop. So on this particular matter, there's your figure.
Councillor Elgar.
And I do support the motion that we have before us.
Thank you, Councillor Adams. Councillor Elgar.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. I can understand where Councillor Demoff is going. However, I'm getting an awful lot of pressure from the constituents that our budget for transit is $24 million, and in fact, we, the taxpayer, are contributing 17 million of the 24. So like 70 cents out of every dollar goes to subsidize transit today. So when I read about their single fares, it's not monthly fares. There's absolutely a good way to get around this, so it shouldn't be a negative impact on anybody if they buy monthly passes. So, and if they, obviously if they use transit on a daily basis, they should be doing that anyhow. So I will be supporting the motion before us on the number one.
Thank you, Councillor Elgar. Councillor Lapworth.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The question I have is, how many rides in one calendar month does one have to have on the Presto card to bring the total cost down to the cost of the monthly fare?
Commissioner.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I can't quote an exact number. I know it's intended to emulate as best they can what the average monthly pass would generate in the number of rides, and if you average that out, that would work. It would be a similar amount on the Presto. So I would imagine it's in the range of anywhere from 20 to 22 working days a year times 2 going to and fro. So it's about in the range of 40 rides. But I certainly stand to be corrected. I don't have exact information.
Okay, supplementary to that, do we take credit cards to buy the Presto card?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I believe you can buy the Presto fare online. So through a secure system online, you can use your credit card to upload money onto your Presto card.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Lapworth. Any others? All right, I'm calling the vote on item number 1. All those in favor? All those opposed? The item 1 carries. We need a motion for part 6 and a seconder. Councillor Elgar and Councillor Adams. Part 6, all in favor? Opposed, if any? That carries. Now, the clerk has, this just in from the clerk. This completes the consideration of standing committee and that special, no, it doesn't. We didn't do the standing committees yet, did we?
You did the motion for the community services and administration services.
Oh, all right. Well, we've got to trust the clerk on that. It's my pleasure to announce that we will have a special council meeting on the 7th of December at 7 p.m. for consideration of ward boundary review. Let the word go out. Councillor Knoll.
Will that council meeting be committee of the whole, or will we convene in regular council? I'm just wondering in terms of the flexibility for public discussion.
It was my intention that we would conduct a committee of the whole, but, you know, if you, Councillor
I'm fully on side with that. It's a great idea.
Your Worship, Councillor Demoff and I both have a conflict with that particular night with the long-standing engagement. Is there any opportunity for us to canvass members of council in regards to arranging that meeting? I know it's problematic trying to find something at this.
Well, maybe we're not. Madam Clerk.
Mr. Mayor, the intent of announcing that date tonight was to actually bring this to the to attention if indeed that night was a problem, because at present time we have no access to members of council's calendars. If December 7th does not work, we shall look for an alternate night, but we're trying to keep it early enough in December to keep it away from the Christmas break to enable public consultation. So we will endeavor to get another day for that meeting tomorrow.
Well, maybe, is there any member of council who can discuss dates now? Or who can't, rather? How does December 8th sound? Any objections to December 8th? Boy, I wish I had my calendar with me. Let's go with December 8th. 7 o'clock, same place, same time, different day, December 8th.
Okay.
Going once, going twice. That's the announcement then. And
Mr. Mayor, if I could just clarify. The original motion that was put by Councillor Johnson and Councillor Adams, I believe to have been intended to approve all of the standing committee reports with the exception of the budget committee. I just want to clarify that based on the fact that there was...
Councillor Johnston is nodding sagely, so there you go. It's true. All right, and thank you very much, Council. That brings us now to our first discussion item, and really the only other business for us tonight, which is the 2012 council appointments to various committees and boards. Councillor Adams.
Unless there's some need to ask our staff of any clarifications, I would be willing to give you a motion which can then be dealt with. Would that suffice?
That's a good idea, I think.
I have spoken with Councillor Khan, and he and I would like to switch ASC for CSC, so I would move that item 1A be adjusted to replace Councillor Khan's name with mine and vice versa in Community Service Committee as shown in page 30 of the agenda.
All right.
And I understand that Councillor Lapworth has made it known that he's interested in the Budget Committee, and so I would move the 2013 Budget Committee as noted in the agenda, adding Councillor Lapworth. And item number 3A, the CAO Review Committee, I understand that Councillors Johnston, Dudek, and Lapworth have shown interest, and Councillor Elgar has made it be known that he's interested in letting Councillor Lapworth take his spot, and so I would move Mayor Burton, Councillor Adams, Councillor Johnson, Councillor Dudek, and Councillor Lapworth. And for item number B, I'm not aware of anybody who wishes to join Councillor Robinson and Mayor Burton on that one, so I'll move Mayor Burton and Councillor Robinson. I'm not aware of anybody who's interested in joining Councillor Giddings on the Heritage Oakville Committee, so I'll move Councillor Giddings. And I'll move Councillor Bird for the Oakville Tourism Partnership and Councillor Johnson for the United Way of Oakville Board of Directors. I understand Councillor Robinson is interested in standing for the Accessibility Advisory Committee if nobody else is interested. So I'll move him, but if Councillor Giddings, I understood him to say that if Councillor Giddings was interested, he would step aside for him.
I have an email from Councillor Robinson today asking me to please ask Councillor Giddings if he wouldn't like to serve on the committee, and saying that only in an absence of Councillor Giddings' interest would he put himself forward for it. So Councillor Giddings, no pressure.
No pressure felt. If I could, you were mentioning of other committees as well. There seems to be a vacancy on the Community Spirit, the 2013 budget, as well as accessibility, and I'd be happy with all three of those.
Sorry, for Community Spirit. Well, how about I name them, and then the mayor can separate them one by one and deal with them. Mr.
Sure.
Mayor, would that work for you?
Certainly.
Okay.
He filled the vacancy on budget in his motion. So we'd have to separate it and defeat it.
Has the motion gone through?
No, no.
No,
but
I'm giving a motion, and then I'm letting people pick it apart. Appeals Committee, I'd move Councillor Grant, Conn, and Lapworth. Bronte Village BIA, I'd move Councillor Robinson. Downtown Oakville BIA, I'd move Councillor Giddings. Kerr Street BIA, I'd move Councillor Dudek. The Oakville Public Library Board, I'd move Councillor Adams and Johnston. Site Plan, I'd move Mayor Burton, Dudek, Elgar, Grant, Robinson, and Tuorf, I'd move Councillor Lapworth. So that's the motion I'd move, and I'll let you...
Would you just repeat after the library?
Site Plan as shown, and Tuorf as shown.
All right. Okay, so we need a seconder. Councillor Johnston. And Councillor Giddings, did you want to separate the budget and defeat that and present an alternative?
I'd be happy to separate the budget to have my name included on that.
All right. To do that, you need to defeat it. We'll separate it and vote on it. Councillor Demoff.
I'd like to separate the library.
Thank you. Any other separations? Councillor Knoll.
Appeals Committee as well as CAO Review?
I'm sorry, after appeals, you said?
CAO Review.
All right. So,
May I clarify that?
Actually, if CAO Review, if we could just review CAO Review, because I lost track of where we were going with that. I'm prepared to remove my name from that voluntarily, but I'd just like to know exactly, I missed what was proposed there. So we may not have to separate if I could just have that repeated.
he moved, why don't you repeat yourself, Councillor?
I know he removed me, thank you very much.
I moved Mayor Burton, Councillor Adams, Johnston, Dudek, and Lapworth.
Does that fill that committee?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And, okay, so there's no election required there, so I'll remove my removal request.
Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Mr. Mayor, if I could just clarify, Councillor Giddings did suggest that he was willing to sit on the Community Spirit Awards Committee, and I don't know that that was included in Councillor Adams' motion.
I didn't, and I'm happy to have it added.
I had added it on my little
Done.
sheet, so Councillor Dudek.
Through to the mover of the original motion, could you indicate Heritage Oakville? Who did you have for Heritage Oakville?
I only moved Councillor Gittings because I wasn't aware of anybody else who had shown an interest.
I'll serve on Heritage.
Okay.
Councillor Lapworth? Councillor Lapworth has thought better of his remark. So we're adding Councillor Dudek. Madam Clerk, any others?
No, Mr. Mayor, I think we're subject to the separations. We're good.
Okay, so leaving aside budget, appeals, and library, I will call the vote on the balance. All in favor? Opposed, if any, and they are adopted. And now I will call the vote on budget, and to change it, you need to defeat it. Councillor Knoll.
Can I just confirm, so in order to change it, you have to defeat the entire slate for each one of those committees, right? So you're voting against everybody?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. The Municipal Act only allows yes or no votes. There's no other way to do this. So, Councillor Adams, would you repeat your budget names?
I had moved Mayor Burton, Councillor Adams, Councillor Dudek, Councillor Knoll, and Councillor Lapworth.
All right. All in favor? Opposed? It carries. Now, the next one is the library. Councillor Knoll?
Can we just recount that? Because I don't think it carried.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It was 6 to 5.
Right. It was 6 opposed.
I
Was it not?
counted 5 opposed.
Shall we take that again?
Can you take the vote again?
I could. All those in favor, raise your hand. All right, it's 5 this time. Opposed? It's 6 this time. It fails. Someone needs to move an alternative. Councillor Knoll.
I'll move Mayor Burton, Councillors Elgar, Adams, Knoll, and Gittings. I'm reading the wrong one. I apologize. I will move Burton, Adams, Dudek, Knoll, and Gittings. The third time so I can be clear. Burton, Adams, Dudek, Knoll, Gittings.
So I have Burton, Adams, Dudek, Knoll, and Gittings.
That's my motion, yes.
All right. All in favor?
I need a seconder.
Oh, I need a seconder. Councillor Dudek seconds it. All those in favor? Opposed? It carries. The next one then is the library. And the motion is Adams and Johnston. All those in favor? And that's 5. Those opposed? 2. That's 6, and that fails. We need another motion. Councillor Demoff?
That Councillor Knoll and myself be appointed to the library board.
Thank you. A seconder? Councillor Dudek, all in favor? Opposed? That carries. And that brings us to appeals. And Councillor Adams, repeat your names, please?
I had named Councillor Grant, Khan, and Lapworth, and I'll note that Councillor Khan asked specifically for this one.
All right. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. All right. Madam Clerk, there you go. Thank you, Council. Please enjoy your committee work. You have your information items circulated electronically. Is there any new business of notice of motion, emergency, congratulations, or condolences? Thank you. Councillor Demoff.
No props.
Props are allowed. I wanted to thank the thousands of people in Oakville who came out to watch the Santa Claus Parade on Saturday and the thousands of people who took part. It was really special, and I would also like to thank town staff who went above and beyond what's required of staff. So thank you very much, and a special thank you to Santa Claus for coming to Oakville.
Thank you, Councillor Demoff. I'd like to add my congratulations to staff for the speed with which they produced the Christmas tree in the sudden and unexpected emergency that struck the BIA. I think that speaks very well for town staff, and I wish more notice had been available to the public of their shiny Christmas good deed. So well done, and thank you very much. Councillor Knoll.
In the spirit of Christmas thanking, I want to also congratulate Councillor Demoff for her leadership on our parade yet again. Each year it gets better and better, and I want to thank, I mean, there's a whole team behind Pam, but certainly Pam is the leader of the team, and she deserves a huge thank you for the effort that she puts in and the hours that she puts in. It's just, it's a stunning accomplishment every year. I was so pleased to be able to participate myself in it, and I want to thank her personally as well. I think we all owe her a debt of gratitude for what she's able to do to boost the community spirit, or the Christmas spirit of this community.
Indeed, and you know, as a head elf, all right, I won't add anything to that. As mayor, it's my pleasure to thank her and recognize her for her outstanding work as head elf. So thank you very much, Councillor. So any other new business? Any regional reports or question periods for town boards and advisory committees? Any requests for reports? Well then, perhaps a mover and seconder for the consideration and reading of the bylaws, Councillor Grant and Councillor Elgar. This would be 2011-119, the bylaw to establish and regulate the Oakville Fire Department and repeal bylaw 1987-73, and 2011-127, a bylaw to amend the traffic bylaw, and 2011-128, and 135, and 136, and 139, and bylaw 2011-145 as revised in the meeting here, and 2011-146, the bylaw to confirm the proceedings of a meeting of council. All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you. That carries. Thank you for your time and attention, and we are adjourned.